Hey, so you are doing the packet. It would be referred to at the top, I think, with something along the lines of Title II, T2. In fact, on the first page, it says Title II application information. Okay, so do read the directions on the first page, okay? Um, take your time. I always say to people who have trouble with paperwork, one page a day, you have plenty of time. And if you don't, because you think uh, your disability happened so long ago that now you're losing back benefits by waiting, just talk to me. We will have gotten a protective filing for you based on our initial discussion to protect you, and that gives you 6 months. So there's never, ever, ever going to be a reason for you to be unable to complete all of the draft data paperwork that we require of you to have the strongest case possible. Okay, and that makes me reiterate that this is not going to the SSA. This is us gathering data from you, okay? And I will also reiterate that we do not have a discussion about the details of these. You do it as you deem fit, doing the best job you can. It comes to us. There's going to be so many other packets. You might have already done them because we've changed the order in which they come for other purposes, largely so we can get to work on some things after, say, your first and second packet while you're working on this. We are always working behind the scenes while you may or may not be doing something on your case, okay? We'll get into more of that later. But in any event, okay. So you're going to do this on your own or with family help. Generally, we're not going to have a conversation. That conversation will come later so we have everything. And none of these really should require that, but I'm going to go through them with you here. So if you have any questions, just go through this video now or later, and we'll go through them one by one. The first one's pretty easy, right? Print your name first, middle, and last. And notice that it says as found on your Social Security card. That is because ideally, and this isn't going to affect that many people, but sometimes the name people have on their driver's license is not the same that they have on their Social Security card. And this, by the way, could be a middle initial or a full middle name. If you can determine the difference, that would be great. It is unclear if the system will take you with just the initial or not. But in any event, if it is that your driver's license name and your Social Security name differ in any way, you are down the road going to have to get that remedied. You're either going to be fixing your Social Security card to match your driver's license, and it also matches your birth certificate, unless you got married or changed your name in another way, in which case those documents, marriage documents, justify the difference in name. It's the connecting dot, or any other kind of court order. Issue for a different day. But for now, we want to go with what's on your Social Security card because that's the only way it's going to link to the Social Security system. So even if your driver's license is different, go with your Social Security card. Okay. Once in a blue moon, we can't get in because those things differ and the person just doesn't know, and they probably have to call Social Security and find out exactly what the name is on their Social Security account. Are you a U.S. citizen? Yes or no? This could be because you were born here, or it could be because you were naturalized or born elsewhere, but to American citizen parent. Okay. Yeah, pretty much everybody knows whether they're a citizen. And then underneath that, it asks, were you born here or elsewhere, but a U.S. citizen at birth, which you would be a U.S. citizen at birth. I understand if your parent was a U.S. citizen when you were born. So even if you were born on vacation over in Aruba, you'd still be an American citizen. I have many, many clients that are naturalized. So that would be for those that were not American citizens, but filed for citizenship and became citizens. You're going to need your naturalization papers. You're going to need to know the date. Okay. If you're estimating, we could try to give that a shot if you don't have your papers, but you're going to need your papers. They're never going to pay you without them. So we can push the case as much as we want, but if you can't prove, and by the way, just as a reminder, you don't have to be a citizen, naturalized or otherwise, to secure Social Security disability benefits that you've worked for and paid in for. You do have to be legally present, though. So that would mean either a valid visa or a green card, permanent residency card, kind of thing. Okay, if your name at birth is different than what you put above for your Social Security, the Social Security question at 1A above, we're at 1C. You're going to want to put that down. Basically, that's going to probably be the one that's on your birth certificate, if it's different. And then, of course, male or female. I'm not going to get into the whole self-identifying as something other than male or female or binary. I don't play the game, so male or female, answer it. Social Security number has to go in there. Obviously, we can't file even get a protective filing without that. 3A, so that was 2. 3A, date of birth. Everybody pretty much does that very nicely. And I do remind you here that, and it's noted that you should be prepared to have to produce a legible certified copy or original of your birth certificate to the SSA in the near future. So that doesn't typically happen right away. But if you do not know where your original or a certified copy of your birth certificate is, I suggest that now, today, or Monday if it's a weekend, or Tuesday if it's a holiday, contact your vital statistics office in your state. Sometimes you can go to the hospital, but if not, you can go to the vital statistics office in your state and order that certified copy now. You're going to have to pay for it. They're going to require that, and it has to be certified because the SSA isn't going to accept a sloppy Xerox copy, okay? La, 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 la. What was the name of your city and country of birth if not in the USA? Have a lot of those. And again, that's often with my naturalized people. And then if you are born in the USA, we want the city and state as well. That's 3B. The next question they ask is, was a public record of your birth made before you were age 5? These are like probably antiquated questions that they ask, but, and generally speaking, there's always seems to be a yes answer in there. Of course, your birth certificate is a public record of your birth. I think they asked that because 50, 60, 70 years ago, some people were just born in a back room and it was never documented. And later on, schools didn't require certain things. So the amount of people that this would actually apply to, I don't even know if they exist because SSD is for ages 65, under 65, maybe 66 now and under. And I think we are all of such a birth year that this probably doesn't apply. If so, it's extremely rare. But anyway, then just go ahead and say yes. Religious record of your birth made before the age of 5. This could vary per person. Some people definitely not. So play that as it is. It's not really very important, but I want you to answer everything. Remember, your answers that you give that we don't fabricate out of thin air are what have to go in our file to authenticate, if need be, any answer you give to the SSA or we give on your behalf to the SSA. So we have to have our backup. So whenever you want to not fill out a form or something, it's not going to fly here, okay? You have to do your part. We can't be mind readers and we can't pretend to be mind readers when we talk to the SSA. We are basically saying, and part of our ethical rules is that we have gotten this information from you asked in this manner so we know that it actually reflects this question, okay? So when you see, I think they asked me that already, doesn't matter. Answer it again. Okay. 4A, and you'll see this one all the time too. What are the illnesses, injuries, or conditions that limit your ability to work? And it's just a brief description. I'll just list them out. By the way, in any of these things, don't use full sentences. Don't tire yourself out. Don't worry about proper grammar. Don't worry about being super neat so long as I can read it. I do always encourage you to put down every impairment, even if it's not the one that took you out of your job, because you have to prove you have more impairments than only those that would take you out of your past job and only your past job. So don't be shy here. Even if you're not treating for it, and we'll get to that later, maybe it's been on the back burner because you have other more pressing medical problems, put them down here because then we will know. We will have notice to delve into that more and find out ways that we can show that that would eliminate this handful of jobs. Because in the end, you have to eliminate 12,000 jobs from your ability to do them full-time. That would include simple, sedentary, easy, simple, stuffing envelope jobs, third grade jobs, unskilled, stress-free. Okay. All right. 4B, we're still on page 1. It's going to be long, huh? If are your illnesses related or caused by your work? Yes or no? And then I go on to say that if it is caused by your work, you may be required under state law to file a workers' compensation claim, and your Social Security benefits may be reduced or offset, and your treatment choices will be controlled 100% for the most part by the workers' comp insurance company. Social Security claimants must report to the SSA if they had or have or will have a workers' comp claim. I will tell you that many lawyers will not take cases that have a workers' comp component. And by the way, it could be, well, I'm not going to get into the weeds on it. And the reasons for that is because it makes the case much harder. It's harder for you. It's harder for us. And because of that offset, attorneys often don't get paid for helping people with SS when they're on workers' comp. I do them religiously, but just know that there's a lot of reasons why professionals won't do it. And they're not illegitimate reasons, that they're here to make a living, right? We've kind of mastered it as best one can. But if your injury is arguably not workers' comp, I suggest you think strong and hard before you decide to make it workers' comp. And I say that because some people think, oh, I'll go get workers' comp and I can get payments right away. You know, that bad back I have that I think is just from doing all that walking at work or whatever. I know that the draw of payments when you're no longer working and you don't have any is really enticing when you're trying to make a mortgage or rent, but it will put if you have a workers' comp and the more bodily parts you try to stick into that claim, whether or not legitimately or not, even if you're never going to win on those bodily parts, you stuck it in the claim, you have now given control over those bodily parts to your workers' comp carrier. You can no longer go to your doctor to treat for them, and you really hamstring yourself with your Social Security claim. So be careful. Don't push anything illegitimate, and be careful about the ones that are, you know, if you don't have to put them in there, you might not want to. Okay, and remember, workers' comp only lasts so long. In addition to hamstringing you, Social Security lasts forever. Just saying. Try not to be short-sighted. 5A, when did you become unable to work because of your illnesses, injuries, or conditions? There's going to be multiple ways they skin this cat, largely because they're trying to find out, and nicely so, how far back can your alleged onset date go? Because sometimes it's not necessarily as recent as your last day of work. Sometimes it can be far before that. We will get into that weeds with you, but this is necessary to start that process. And when I had my interview with you, I probably already had a good feel for where we could go back, because that's one of the things I do ask in the first interview, because it's really important. So put down as you deem best, probably your last day of work is going to be the most common answer. However, if you started working part-time, I would jot that down. Feel free to write it down on the bottom. My last day of work was so-and-so, but I had gone part-time 4 months before that. That would be helpful. Okay, that was 5A, bottom of page 1. Now we're going on to page 2. 6A, have you ever filed for Social Security benefits before? Easy question, right? Yes or no. Do not forget any of these guys. We can't have any blanks. You can have an NA if it's not applicable, but generally speaking, there's going to be a yes or no answer. 7A, and some of these get a little funky. Were you in the active military or naval service after 1939 before 1968? I'm going to probably take this one out. So if you don't see this on yours, it's because I've taken it out. These are just, the SSA still has them, but these people are over the age or nearly so. Yeah, I think so, of Social Security disability. So 7A, mental note, take it out. 7B, that would be dates of service. We're probably going to put something in there and change that up. 7B, 7A, 7, we'll just say 7 is probably going to be just about military service. And I have a lot of veteran clients seeking Social Security, many disabled veterans, not always, but many are disabled, so that's always helpful to know. Anyway, fill out the dates of service, whether or not they're old or new. Before 1968, which I don't think. Okay. Have you ever been, or will you be, we're at 7C, eligible for a monthly benefit from a military or civilian federal agency? This includes VA benefits only if you waived military retirement pay. I'll leave you to that because you're going to know that answer far better than I will. And you can always, there's a line for explanation, so feel free to jot anything down you want. 8A, have you filed or do you intend to file for any other public disability benefits? And this would include workers' comp or black lung benefits. That's like an open. If you file for any other, what you think might be public disability benefits, write it down, put a note here. It might not be ones that count, but it might be. And the reason why Social Security wants to know is because they want to know if they can have an offset and pay you less. They will find out eventually. So you do not want them to not pay you less and then come after you with an overpayment. Now you have a big federal debt. You don't want that. And here they go on with other public disability benefits in 8B, VA benefits, welfare, any kind of welfare, SSI, or other. Incidentally, many of you will have a concurrent SSI claim that we will file on your behalf with your Title II SS, some of you. Okay, 9A, do you have Social Security credits under another country's Social Security system? This is not typical in the clients I see, but occasionally, and this would be if you worked in a different country. Maybe you had moved out there for a number of years. Maybe you're still there. And the reason why that's important is because if you don't have enough here, you might be able to gain insured status under like a totalization agreement. God, I have not reviewed those in a long time, but that's how people who only work, say, 5 years here, and you need 10 for retirement or a Social Security disability ability once you're older, the Social Security Administration knows how to go grab those other credits if there's that totalization agreement with that other country and give you credit here. You can get paid. So boring questions they look like, but they can be really important. And then, of course, 9B, if yes, list the countries. 10A, are you entitled to, or do you expect to become entitled to, a pension or annuity based on your work after 1956 that was not covered by Social Security? This may be for work often with a federal, state, or local government that opted for pensions instead of Social Security participation, or when working in a foreign country. So figure that one out. People generally know if they have a pension. Occasionally someone doesn't know because it was like a long time ago. They forgot about the job and they get like $100. They didn't know that they had it coming to them. But amazingly how the Social Security Administration finds out. And it's often not to their detriment. But the other reason why they would be wanting to know is to know if the windfall elimination provision will apply to you. Because it would mean that your estimate that you saw in your Social Security earnings statement over the years was incorrect because it was based on incorrect lifetime earnings. It did not include those earnings that were not covered by Social Security, but you were getting credit for them when they did your estimated primary insurance amount for Social Security. So, or I should say, you're getting credit as if you weren't working it, and you're getting the social benefit of a lower income than you had, which means a higher Social Security benefit than what you should have. And they're going to correct that for some people. Those who did not work substantially 30 years with substantial income in a Social Security covered job. So that's the pension job, the pension question. Definitely just do your best to answer it. Don't be inaccurate. 10B, this is where they want to know if you became entitled or expect to become entitled on what date, blah, blah, blah. That's all about the pensions. 10, number 10. 11, did you have wages or self-employment? This one is so crazy. Usually the answer is just going to be no. Did you have wages or self-employment income covered under Social Security in all years? I think the reason why they know if there's any years after 78 that were not covered If you say stayed home with a child under the age of 3 and we're not working under this question, they can actually get rid of those 0 years for you in some shape or form. So they don't bring down what your benefit amount will be should you prevail or when you become retired. So that is probably why. So when you think of this question, I'd say think about, were you caretaking for a child under 3? You had a baby, you took off of work 3 years so that kid could go to preschool or whatever. Boom. That can really have an impact. You hear that? Sirens. Okay. And honestly, I'd like this to be reworded so it's not really written the way Social Security wrote it. It's kind of confusing. I think I can make it simpler. The next question, look at your annual Social Security statement that you download from ssa.gov/my account and tell us, do you agree with the annual incomes they have there? Yes, no, or I don't know. If you say I don't know, the SSA is going to bug you to look at it and confirm or not confirm. So I suggest if you know that they're right, you say so, or else you're just adding another cog in their wheel. And a cog in the SSA wheel is not a good idea. Sometimes it takes them a while to get it out with a lot of prodding from us. Okay, 12. People blow this one all the time, so pay attention, folks. If you worked the current year or last year, so let's say right now we're in 2024, maybe it's 2025. Who knows? By the time this might still be in 2026. If you worked for an employer, put down the name and address, people. I see people jot down the employer name and they forget that it says address. And then when you began there, even if it was 10 years ago, put that down. And when it ended, if it's still going on, say still working there, because some people might stay with a job and be working part-time under SGA and be able to file, which is what we're doing for you. But you want to have everything in the current year and the prior year. The reason is you want to get credit for this year. There's no existing W-2s because the year's not over. And last year, you probably did get a W-2, but the batch numbers that are run and sent to the SSA by the IRS or something to that effect are not there yet because they happen like annually. It's like way after. So you want to get credit you want them to know about that old employer because that income is going to affect your insurance amount that you would be paid. It would be more than it would otherwise be. So don't be shy about including it. And you really must, or else you're going to have inaccurate information sent and it's going to be relying on the information you gave us. See how that works? Number 13, may the Social Security Administration or the state agency reviewing your case. By the way, that's the outsourced state agency that does the medical workup after we get the application done with the field office and everything's cozy. They shoot it to a totally different office. No foot traffic, mind you. Ask your employers for information needed to process your claim. We don't really see this happen. However, you best say yes. In fact, you have to say yes. So say yes. The chances of them ever contacting your employer I've never even seen it happen. But I suppose if there's something like if there's missing, your employer is missing something that it should have filed to show that you made money and paid the taxes and should get credit for it, that's something right there. 14A is for those of you who are self-employed this year and last. If the answer is yes, you go to the next question. Were you self-employed? It says this year and last. I wonder if that's supposed to be this year or last. Go ahead and assume it's or last. So either of the years. And then you have to put down what kind of business it was. And did you make more than $400 for the year? Now, 15 concerns all your work activity earnings. And that could be self-employment or through your wages. And just get the total. So like last year, which I think is the first question, 15A, usually you can look at your tax return if you already have it done. Depends what time of the year it is, right? And that's just your work earnings. So that would be W-2 and self-employment earnings, the combined, what did you make for that year? Because remember, they don't have this information yet, and they want to give you credit for it. It'll also help confirm whether your alleged onset date could really be older. If the amount you made last year was under SGA, but you were working and let's say you're still working, you could feasibly have an alleged onset date back then that will provide you with much more back benefits. So don't blow off any of these questions, guys. A lot of them are designed to help you. Okay. Not all, but some. And then 15B, how much have you earned from work activity? That would be the W-2 employer or self-employed work this year. (15C). This one's always a pain in the rear. Did you receive any money from an employer on or after the date above in 5A when you became unable to work? That was that initial question about when did you become unable to work, and we said it's probably going to be when you last worked, but put another comment if you were working part-time. This could be a vacation payment, vacation pay that would accumulate and they pay you after the fact, or a belated bonus, or a belated commission, or something to that effect. And the reason why they want to ask it is, let's say you were disabled December 31st of 2023, and you received a check in March of 2024, a big check. It'll look like you were still working till March of 2024. This question is what clears it up that you were not still working because you received an extra payment after you stopped. And then it says, if yes, explain. And you can just say belated vacation pay or, unused sick pay, whatever the case may be. This is so that you're not, the alleged date you said that you became unable to work could still be so, despite that payment. 15D, do you expect to receive any additional money from an employer, such as sick pay, vacation pay, or other special pay? And if yes, give the amounts and explain your remarks at the end of this form. You can explain it right here if it's short and sweet, right on the page. Doesn't matter because remember, this is not going anywhere but to us. So if you expect to receive monies, this is atypical. By the time we're filing, any payments that might be belated from an employer have usually taken place. But go ahead and give it a C, and if the shoe fits, go ahead and put it in there. Now they're going to ask you about your spouse. Have you ever been married? Yes or no? If you have been, you put your current marriage under 17A. Remember, they need your spouse's maiden name. If usually, traditionally, that would be a wife who was born with a different last name than yours, right? And then change it to yours. So what's her name? You can give her name now, and then underneath that, put the maiden name. When did you get married? And this is an estimated date. Believe it or not, some people can't remember. I don't think that's great. You should probably look it up. But if it's estimated, go ahead and say so. Where were you married? What city and state? And was it performed by a clergy or public official? If not, was it performed by somebody else? And then you would explain who else did that. Spouse's date of birth, if you know it, and spouse's social security, if you know it. The reason why this is helpful, this will be helpful to you and to your spouse, because later on, or at any point, should your spouse become eligible for a benefit, it'll be because of this information. So if you leave it out, you could be depriving your household of Social Security benefits that extra on top of yours that could be coming in. Okay, prior marriages, same idea. And then you put how the marriage ended, divorce, death, that kind of thing. That's very important too, because did you know that potentially if you had a prior marriage and that spouse made a lot more than you might be able to have your benefit calculated on that person's work record instead of your own weaker record for a bigger benefit amount. If it was a marriage that ended by death, then you are potentially eligible for a survivor benefit, which again could be bigger than your own. So, sometimes people say, I don't even want to think about that old marriage. It was horrible. Okay. But why not at least get the financial benefits from it if there are any, right? Ooh, if you were divorced in that prior marriage, the location of the divorce, please. And again, all these things will help the SSA confirm that it is so and be able to do calculations to see if there's bigger benefits coming to you. If there are more than one prior marriage, you're going to want to answer all those questions again on a separate page that you add on, or if you can fit it in the remarks section at the end. Have you or your spouse worked in the railroad industry for 7 years or more? Yes or no? This is usually no. However, it does have to do with some kind of offset that would apply, like where people can't get both and blah, blah, blah. So that's not a fun one, but I think I've seen it answered once in the positive. So it's not that common. Apparently people don't work for the railroad very much anymore. Okay, the next thing is about your children, if you have any. I'm going to just read it. If your claim for disability benefits is approved, your children, including natural, adopted, and step, dependent grandchildren, or step-grands, may be eligible for benefits based on your work record. List below the name, social security number, and date of birth of any children that are either less than 18, less than 19 and still in high school and are unmarried, or those that became disabled before they turned 22, even if they were over 18, 19, or 22, even if they're 30, if they became disabled before they turned 22. Now, I would not suggest, don't put grandchildren down or step-grands unless I would say you are raising them and they have no living parent. Because think about it, we have a lot of grandkids, a lot of people, and they're not going to be able to be eligible. But if you are the only caretaker and their parents are deceased, or certainly if you've adopted them, then of course they're your adopted child. But the rest of it, no, it's not going to be helpful. 20, do you have any dependent parents who was receiving at least half support from you when you became unable to work because of your disability? The answer is yes or no. This is unusual. I don't know that I've had anyone that had a parent who was receiving half their support from them, mostly because those parents are all on their own Social Security. But there will be some times when a parent is destitute, doesn't have their own Social Security, and you're supporting them. So that can be just like a child. Okay, and then you have to put the name and addresses of that parent. Again, I don't ever see that. We're at the end, guys. Thank you for your patience. Number 21, do you have a Social Security, my Social Security account? Yes or no? If not, here's the directions to go and do that. And I want you to download your Social Security earnings statement. It's downloadable as a PDF, and you can send it to us. The dogs, they drive me crazy. If I weren't on video with you, I'd be yelling at them, screaming my head off. And send it to us with this data form. And if you don't do it, it may delay your ability to have your application properly filed. And that's true because we use certain information in that, particularly your earnings history, to help confirm whether we can bring that onset date for you back further than you thought and get you a bigger load or any back benefits. Or find out that you were mistaken about your numbers. It's all about double checks. Because I would say a very good percentage of the time people are mistaken. I don't know if it's half the time, maybe it's only a third or 25%, but that's a lot. And you don't know if you fall into that. So we want to make sure we either ensure you get the most you can benefits and back benefits, which by the way, can also affect your monthly benefit amount, however, incrementally. Or you don't want to be asserting a date back when you clearly could not be legally disabled. So that will help us confirm that. It also gives you a good eyeball on whether or not the SSA is accurately recording for you, or if something got missed, something didn't transfer from IRS to SSA, that kind of thing. Number 22, last and finally, have you used any other names? Have you used any other Social Security numbers? So if yes, explain what they were and why. Okay, that's it, guys. These are all things that you know the answers to. So this is a super simple form. And it doesn't take long to fill out. There will be forms that you've probably already done because we're waiting on this one, trying to get the heavier ones done first while you have more energy. So this one probably came after that. That's a new little scheduling switch up we've had in the last year. But this would probably then mean that it's the last step before we can finalize the full application. And that's when the harder work gets for us and you get to relax. All right. I will talk to you guys soon. again, we'll be talking. Don't feel like you have to talk to me while you're filling this out. You know, if you're confused, just jot it down. Not a big deal. We do have the messaging portal. Some people want to use it to ask a question. That's fine. I will try to answer it if it's easy and clean. Otherwise, I'll just say, do your best. We will talk about it when we go over your paperwork. All right. We do not want to have 10 conversations. We have to be time efficient so we can work mostly on legal on your case. And we know how to do that best. So follow us, put some faith in us, and it will get done. I'll talk to you later. Bye.